Can you see me? I'm a bit small. I want to applaud you for surviving until this point, and especially since there is a beautiful and sunny day outside. I promise I won't take long, so you can still catch some sunshine. I want to thank the commune of Milano, especially to Commissioner Moran and Laura Veronese from the Foreign Affairs Department for inviting me to this gorgeous city. Milano is one city that I have been wanting to come since I was a kid, and so it is an honor for me to share this podium with our distinguished speakers and participants. So we have learned so much today, and I am happy to see the great actions that cities are taking to improve their waste management systems and the big success that Milano is having with their recycling and food waste collection system. We at C40 look forward to help you share those successes and achievements and help other cities to achieve similar success as well. Because when dealing with climate change, it is good to generate original solutions, but it is even better if we are able to replicate good solutions many times. This is what C40 is all about. So we have heard many stories from cities and the unique challenges being faced by the very dense cities like New York, or growing and transforming cities like Berlin, Gothenburg, Ljubljana, and other countries like the Netherlands, looking to ensure their sustainable development. I see that today leading cities have a thing in common, and it is that they have ambitious plans and they are taking great actions and innovative approaches to meet these goals. And for me, I think the main lessons from the presentation we saw today are that there is no single and no perfect solution. You have to analyze and adapt what works for your city. And you have to be willing to learn by experimenting and also by importing knowledge. Investing in your environment is good business. You have to aim high, start somewhere, and scale the solutions that work well. Measuring the progress is essential to demonstrate success. And you have to be willing to shift gears when something is not working. You have to design simple programs, make it easy for people to participate and communicate with your citizen. Now, I made a presentation. I was going to give it in Italian, but I have already shared my speech with our friends doing the translation, so unfortunately, I am going to have to give it in English. My name is Ricardo Cepeda Marquez. I have been with C40 since the end of 2012, and I have been the director of the Solid Waste Initiative for the last 6 months. I have been working in waste management for the last 5 years or so. I am based in Mexico City, and for the last year, I have been working to develop the connections with the cities that have identified waste management as one of their climate agenda priorities. I am very fortunate for having the opportunity to experience a diversity of places and cities, and I feel that this has given me a contrasting perspective of the challenges that many of our regions face, not just in waste management, but in communicating and in participating in many of our networking activities. And today, I would like to share some of that experience and thoughts. So I will start with a very brief introduction of C40 and this Solid Waste Initiative and their participating cities, and then I will share my thoughts on the challenges for developing the network with the participating cities. So is everyone okay with that plan? Good, so let me get started. The C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group is a global network of the world's megacities and their mayors, working to reduce carbon emissions and climate risk. It was founded by Ken Livingstone, then the mayor of London, and expanded via a partnership in 2006 with the President William Clinton's climate initiative. In 2012, the New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg was elected the C40 chair, and his philanthropic organization became a strategic funder of the organization. Under his leadership, the C40 fully integrated the CCI Cities program into the organization, expanded its membership, and gained wide global recognition as the preeminent climate organization in the world. C40 cities have delivered on a critical commitment to measurement and reporting to ensure better management of their investment and actions. Michael Bloomberg is now the president of the C40 board, and Bloomberg Philanthropies remains as a strategic funder. The C40's current chair is Mayor Eduardo Paez of Rio de Janeiro. C40 currently consists of 67 cities, 42 megacities, and 19 smaller innovator cities, and additionally 6 observer cities. So overall, roughly 40 of the world's 50th largest metropolitan areas are part of C40. So taken together, the C40 will be the world's third most populous country, the size of Brazil and the United States combined, the world's fifth largest greenhouse gas emitter, bigger than Japan and growing faster, and the world's second largest economy, tied with China. So there's a lot of potential within C40, but potential isn't enough. What's really important about the C40 is that C40 mayors and city governments have emerged as the leading force for global action on climate change, ahead of national leaders on climate issues in countries around the world. Why? Because they are more nimble and are directly accountable to their citizens. If you live in a city, matters such as waste management, flooding, and rapid transit systems are not an abstraction. They are part of your daily life. Therefore, the need for cities to cut emissions and adapt is more pressing and more real. So what does C40 do? With all this potential and all of this activity, what is C40's role? C40 is a network of the C40 city governments. We help officials do their job better, faster, and more effectively. And we do that using 3 approaches. The first one is networks. We identify specific climate initiatives our cities are working on, and we get the officials directly responsible for their progress together, in person, by video conference, and by telephone. We know that they won't act in unison. At the end of the day, each city has to work for itself, but they will learn from each other, and that helps them get their jobs done faster, better, and smarter. And when they get their jobs done, the planet benefits. The second approach is support. We provide direct support for specific high-value projects by developing partnerships with expert organizations around the world and by allocating full-time staff on cities through a competitive process. The third one is to share knowledge. We have developed a knowledge platform, and we help our cities share their message about what they are doing, because it's important that we know what cities are doing and what their peers are doing, so we know whether C40 cities are making progress. So C40 is organized around 6 initiatives, 6 content initiatives and 1 research initiative. Those are adaptation, energy, finance, communities, transport, and waste, and the one on research, which is measurement. My initiative is waste, so I'll switch to talk about waste. So today, over half of the world's population lives in cities, a share that is likely to reach 75% in 2050. Cities and urban areas currently account for over 2/3 of the world's energy consumption and account for 70% of global CO2 emissions. Globally, waste management is responsible for 3% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. In some cities where energy utilization is lower, this figure can be higher. This is particularly acute in developing regions like Latin America, where waste management can be responsible for up to 14% of the total greenhouse gas emissions, primarily from methane emissions from landfills. 3% may not sound like a huge number. However, waste generation is increasing faster than any other environmental pollutant, including CO2. And it is growing faster in the developing regions where the contribution to overall greenhouse gas emissions is higher. So plastic mountains clog our sewers, rivers, and oceans, causing floods, economic and environmental damages. Waste management is one of the largest costs to municipal budgets, and the global perspective is worrying. When waste management works well, we give it little thought, out of sight, and usually quickly out of mind. Discarded materials are collected, some are recycled or composted, but most are landfilled or incinerated, and the global view is troubling. A new World Bank study projects a 70% global increase in urban solid waste, with developing countries facing the greatest challenges. Waste management challenges are particularly acute in emerging economies as they face increased consumption and demand for better services. Just recently, sanitary landfills like Liugang in Shanghai, Sudokwon in Seoul, Jardín Gramacho in Rio de Janeiro, and Bordo Poniente in Mexico City were competing for the title of largest landfill in the world, with each one receiving more than 10,000 tons of waste per day. Also, rapidly developing cities such as Shenzhen in China are adding to the world's inventory of waste incinerators, with the largest being able to process more than 5,000 tons per day. Concerns over ash disposal, air pollution, and costs are rising too. So during the 20th century, the world's population became more affluent, more consumer-oriented, and more wasteful. During that period, waste generation increased tenfold. By 2025, it will double again. If this trend continues, by 2100, it will triple. The projected rise in the amount of waste from 1.3 billion tons per year today to 2.2 billion tons per day by 2025 has a projected rise in the annual global cost from $205 billion to $375 billion. The good news is that not everything is bad news. Waste management is an issue that unites cities with very different levels of wealth and across all regions. For example, London sends 47% of their waste to landfill, which is not very different from Shanghai's 54% or Johannesburg 55%. So there is much that can be done locally to reduce waste, and cities are leading the way. It has been demonstrated that reverting this dangerous trend is possible, and cities are leading the way. For example, in 1988, the city of Copenhagen was sending over 40% of their waste to landfill, and by putting an integrated program in place, now Copenhagen is sending less than 2% of their waste directly to landfill. Half of Copenhagen waste is now being recycled, and maximum use is made of waste to generate heat for the city's district heating network. North American and European cities have demonstrated that raising disposal costs has a direct impact on waste generation. In the 90s, San Francisco set out to become a zero waste city by 2020. That means to divert all of its waste from landfills through reduction and recycling. At the time, it sounded like a ridiculous idea, but now they are close to 80% of that goal. Japanese cities produce about 1/3 less waste per person than the United States, despite having roughly the same gross domestic product per capita. And this is because reasons like higher density living, higher prices for a larger share of imports, and cultural norms. We know that the planet is already straining from the impacts of today's waste, and we are on a path to more than triple it. Through a move toward stable or declining populations, denser and better managed cities, consuming fewer resources and greater equity and use of technology, we can bring big waste forward and down. C40 is a data-driven organization. We organize our initiatives and networks in response to what our cities are working on and on what has the potential to achieve the highest greenhouse gas reductions. Through our climate action survey, we learn what our cities are doing, planning, and improving. From our latest Climate Action in Megacities report, released during the C40 Summit in Johannesburg this year, we know that cities are reporting a total of 1,039 actions in waste management. 65% of these climate actions are being taken at the transformative level, which means they are being implemented all over the cities. 50% of these actions relate to treatment, 40% to waste reduction, and 10% on waste collection. 30% of the organic management actions focus on source separation policies. 86% of the C40 cities are telling us that they intend to expand their waste management actions that are not already transformative, with a particular focus on waste separation policies. To help our cities achieve those goals, we currently have two main work streams within the C40 Solid Waste Initiative. First is what we call the Sustainable Solid Waste Systems Network, where we aim to transform the C40 cities' holistic approach to waste management through reduction, improved collection and transportation, resource and energy recovery, recycling, organics utilization, landfill diversion, and alternative disposal. By understanding the benefits and disadvantages of various management technologies, we look to enable local decision makers to best allocate resources, select processes and vendors, and develop policies and procedures that meet their community's needs. The second one is our partnership with the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. This coalition is a global partnership of countries, international organizations, and the private sector seeking to reduce short-lived climate pollutants like black carbon, methane, and HFCs. The CCAC launched its Municipal Solid Waste Initiative with C40 at the Rio Plus 20 conference. Through this initiative, we look to foster partnerships, political will, and technical capacity to enable cities to undertake lasting actions to mitigate short-lived climate pollutants from the municipal solid waste sector. So we have, at the Solid Waste Initiative, we have a very good regional spread where we are working in 6 of the 7 C40 regions, and we hope to cover all of them by the end of this year. I'd like to highlight some of the work that some of the participating cities are doing. I have chosen a few representative cities. The first one is Johannesburg, which just in February hosted the C40 Summit. They are a rapidly growing city which just organized a World Cup. They are focused on minimization strategies, recycling programs, and separation at source campaigns, targeting households and commercial buildings. They are in the process of converting 5 landfill sites from flaring to power generation, and they are expecting to produce 19 megawatts of power within 2 years. They are looking to learn from other cities' experiences developing waste management policies and strategies that address informal sector issues. They are developing leading community-based programs for recycling and adding value to the processing of recyclables. The next city is Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is the city that hosts our current C40 chair. They will be hosting a World Cup in the next days. And they are working with the US EPA to improve their management of leachate at landfills so they are able to increase the treatment capacity and landfill gas collection efficiency. They are implementing pilot programs for voluntary organics collection from large generation for composting and energy production. They are working to optimize their collection routes to increase the service quality and reduce fuel consumptions and associated greenhouse gas emissions. And the mayor has a stated goal of increasing the recycling efficiency and are looking to learn from other cities on technology and community-based approaches. The next example is the city of San Francisco, who was awarded the Climate Leadership Award last year for their work on zero waste. To achieve the goal of zero waste, they have created ordinances to ensure overall participation. San Francisco has required mandatory 3-stream source separation and recycling of waste, has created pay-as-you-throw trash metering incentives for businesses that reduce waste, have banned the use of non-recyclable and non-compostable containers by food service vendors and restaurants, has eliminated the store's use of plastic bags and mandated the recycling of construction and demolition debris, has established green building standards for new constructions and taken steps to ensure that recycling plants are in place for all special events, and has required green purchasing requirements for city governments. They currently are around 80% of their diversion goals, and their landfill disposal is at the lowest level in decades. The next city I wanted to talk about is London. London is where the C40 headquarters are based, where our new executive director is based. So they have a very innovative approach to administrating their waste system. London has a highly decentralized waste management system, which is probably comparable to any city of their magnitude. London is divided in 33 local authorities, which are responsible for domestic waste and recyclables collection. Some of them do commercial collection, some of them don't. So in 2007, following a debate about reforming waste management arrangement in London, the national government, with backing from the municipalities and the Mayor of London, decided to establish the London Waste and Recycling Board as a way to help solve some of the strategic issues that arise from such a bold service delivery. So one of the innovation on the Waste and Recycling Board is that it invests on waste-related projects on a commercial basis, and this investment in infrastructure provides a double dividend, the development of additional waste treatment capacity, and the revenue stream so that recycled funds can be reinvested to deliver more infrastructure, with the surplus funds being directed to provide local and citywide waste projects. All programs are implemented on a citywide scale, when it comes to key infrastructure developments, communication campaigns, service delivery, and regional development. As any major city, they have goals on reduction, recycling, and sustainability. This is a very innovative way to run a public service of waste management. As far as we know, it's the only public sector operating on the waste space that uses a commercial lender's approach to finance the development of new waste infrastructure that can then be recycled for both further investment cycles and to support local authorities in the management of waste at the local and intercity level. While these governance arrangements in London are possibly unique, we think that this model is highly replicable, and many cities could take good lessons from this approach. And finally, I wanted to make a recognition to the advanced work of the city of Milano. We know that they have over 1,200 household collection vehicles, with over 30% of them running on clean compressed natural gas, which gives them a very clean and efficient collection fleet. They have one of the best integration of recyclables, recovery, food waste processing, and energy recovery infrastructure. They are very rapidly implementing, achieving big successes in their recycling programs. And one example is the Transparent Bag program, which they have just recently implemented for the collection of residuals. Their segregated organic collection with food waste is reaching a 50% success by the end of 2013. And I just was taking some numbers that they have an 87% capture rate at the household level, which is incredibly high. And they are getting those food waste with less than 5% contamination. I know it is very easy to find good pictures of cities and talk about the great steps that cities are taking. But today I would also like to complete this conversation talking a bit about the things we don't like to talk as much, which are the challenges that we as an organization face in developing this networking approach so that we can get the cities talking to each other and improving on their results. Some of these challenges to develop the network activities are, one example is the language barriers. And I think the basic element to build a network is understanding. We all are aware of this, and it is a barrier to develop a network of people if most people speak different languages. This is something that the regional approach works sometimes, but doesn't work for most places. It can work for Latin America, where most people speak or understand Spanish, but then you go to Africa, to Europe, to Southeast Asia, and every city speaks a different language. We must aim to build global networks, as good ideas are not confined within regions. C40 is committed to find ways to improve this situation, and we are in the process of testing solutions ranging from automated translation services, webinars and conversations in multiple languages, and others, but this is an issue that we need to keep thinking about. The second one is the cultural diversity and awareness. I think my biggest learning from all the places I have visited has not been on waste, but seeing all the different cultural norms and approaches to diplomacy from our cities. We all hope we can get upfront and honest discussions with our cities in all regions, but then we're faced with hesitancy, shyness, and an aversion to conflict, which prevents the sharing of contrasting opinions from many regions. The opposite is also true. Many times, people don't like to talk about their own achievements because it feels like they are showing off. Many times, cities are not aware that they are doing good things. Just recently, I was amazed at the social programs being run by Johannesburg on recycling, and it surprised me that the city officials didn't think they were doing a great thing. They felt that they were barely improvising. Another challenge is gaining the availability of city officials. This is particularly acute in developing regions where tight municipal budgets mean stretched departments where officials are doing the job that is usually being done by 2 or 3 persons in other places. This means that they are more worried about service delivery than long-term planning and strategy. Sure, the mayor and the ministry may be very committed, but when you get to the ground staff, it is not a lack of interest that makes them working with them difficult, but lack of time. We need to provide valuable outcomes to their participation in the C40 networks. Fourth one is the communication and connectivity infrastructure. Well, when you think about your workplace, you are most likely in a well-lit room with air conditioning, you have a cell phone, a phone line, a recent computer, and a good internet connection. And many of us take this for granted and think that this is pretty normal. I have been shocked when officials in Mexico City, for example, have to depend on our city director to bring a projector to their offices, to use his mobile phone to reach a toll-free number because they have restricted phone access. Or when West Asia high-level officials have to share a small office with 10 other persons in temperatures nearing 40 degrees. Or when African officials barely have a desk, a mountain of papers, and a landline, and the lucky ones get to bring their own computer to do their job. So the approach that we're trying to get them connected to other cities is a challenge for them. So we need to find ways to enable our cities to access the knowledge being shared and generated in the network for us to succeed as an organization and for them to succeed in their waste management and climate agenda. Finally, we need to develop incentives to share and support others. In order for a network to work, we need to develop something to offer to the cities that are doing great things with waste, like Milano. We want to be able to provide a platform for cities like Milan, San Francisco, London, or Barcelona to participate in the network and share their lessons with the cities that need it the most, and also with their peers in leadership, so that they can learn from each other. I think that's all I have. Well, so to help those cities achieve their goals in their waste management and climate agenda, we will be growing the solid waste initiative this year. We will continue with the Sustainable Solid Waste Systems Network, focusing on recyclables management, processing technologies, and community projects. We will continue to provide direct technical assistance and access to workshops through our partnership with the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. And we will be launching a new network around September for the advanced cities working towards zero waste. And we will be developing work streams on advanced waste treatment, waste to energy, organics diversion, product bans, pay-as-you-throw mechanisms, and innovative financing, as well as public-private partnerships, so that the advanced cities can share their own achievements and their own approaches and can learn from each other. So I'll let you thank you very much, and we're happy to take your questions on the panel.